Stop waiting to follow your dream. You keep putting that little side hustle off every single day, knowing that you are very miserable at your 9 to 5 job. How do I know this? Because I have been there. I remember when I was just a few years ago, I was literally miserable working a 9 to 5 job. I worked at WeatherTech. I worked at Amazon. I worked at White Castle. I probably served me out burgers in White Castle. I worked at this bread place called Toronto Nido Baking, right? So a few different jobs, and I was working upwards of 16-hour shifts. 16 hours at 18 years old, 19 years old, slaving every single day, make sure I'm putting that body in so I can get a little bit of extra money. And the amount of money I make now, even in a day, does not compare to what I used to make. Well, what I used to make in a month over there, or even in a year, does not even compare to what I've been able to make in some days even, right? I've been literally some days now, I've been able to make what I used to make in a whole entire year, in a whole entire day. Now, that's not every single day, but it's happened before, right? The reason why I'm telling you is because your life can change in 6 months. Go on a 6-month time skip. What this means is lock in. Quit that job, right? Start doing your side hustle. And once you have enough income coming in where you can essentially quit your job and maybe to go all in on this, whether it's like, hey, say for example, your side hustle, you're a lot more happier with your side hustle, right? It's way less stressful. And you're making either just as much or almost as much as you do from your main income stream, right? If that's you, and once you get to that position, I highly recommend you go all in. That's just my thoughts, right? That's just what I did. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me, right? Like I said, a few years ago, I was working at WeatherTech. I'd worked at Home Depot even too. I forgot about that one, right? And my whole life, I had always wanted to work for myself. I had told my teachers before when I was in high school, hey, I want to start my own business. And they started giving me the statistics of how many businesses fail. They literally started giving me the statistics on how many businesses fail. Right now, I want you to understand this. School is meant to train rats. I'm sorry. Right? Education is great, but college is a trap. School is meant to train rats. I'm not trying to be a lab rat. And I remember the teacher, I asked her, I'm like, hey, are you happy in life? Right? Are you fulfilled? Are you making enough money? And she said, no, I'm not. I'm like, so why in the world are you trying to tell me to follow in your footsteps, essentially? You're telling me you're in $80,000 debt from student loans. You're living check to check. You're not living in the best neighborhood. Why would I want to live like that? And me growing up, I have a big family and I've always wanted to provide for my family. So I'm like, okay, I did the calculations at a really young age, 15 years old even, to kind of calculate how much money I would need to make in the future to be able to support myself, be able to live life to the fullest, and be able to support my family as well. So I'm like, okay, I need to make a surgeon type of money. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm not trying to be a surgeon, so what's the best option? Okay, cool, I could be a business owner. Now they're telling me 90% of businesses fail. At the time, I'm like, oh dang, it did discourage me a little bit. Eventually, I ended up finding my way back, but at the time, it did discourage me a little bit, right? But the reason why I got back into it, because I knew 100%, like, okay, even if I was discouraged in the slightest, I knew for a fact, 1,000,000,000% that a 9 to 5 was not for me. I literally told myself this, right? I told myself I will be absolutely miserable in life if I'm still working a 9 to 5 job in the next 5 years. I said that at 18 years old. In the next 5 years, if I'm still working a 9 to 5, my life is completely miserable. I failed in life. Right? I just want to make sure I'm recording because I'm recording my back camera. I told myself I failed in life, and I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna fail in life, right? So don't try to accomplish more than you. Don't try to accomplish what you think is too much for yourself, essentially, right? What I mean by that is, so for me, I'm like, okay, I want to be successful, right? But let me take one step at a time, right? Let me get my mindset right. Let me get my credit right. Let me get my finances right. Let me learn about these small little things. Let me educate myself, because I say education is great, right? And then also, let me set up a 5-year blueprint. Let me set up a 10-year blueprint, right? Because the time is going to fly. Let me set up that blueprint, what my life look like 5-10 years from now. I envision it. I picture exactly what my life was going to look like, what I was going to be driving, the house I was going to be living in, the type of family I was going to have, the type of wife I was going to have, all those things. I envisioned all those things. And I started working towards my goals. And I was like, hey, I don't need to be a millionaire right now. All I need to be is just better than the average person in my age range. And what I mean by that is, I want to be more successful than the average person in my age range. So The average person at 15 years old, I was thinking this is 15 years old, okay, the average person at 15 years old is, don't have a job. So boom, what can I do that the average person is not doing, but that will be ahead of my age range? How can I get ahead? Simple as that, right? So you could dial it down a little bit instead of trying to be like, everybody else, how can I be better than my average age range, right? So I started looking up how much money does the average person save at 15 years old, at 18 years old, at 20 years old. I start saving that amount, or make sure that I beat that amount. Right, I make sure I beat that amount because of the fact that I just literally start brainwashing myself to be even better, like to self-improve. So okay, the average person doesn't have a job, cool. I turned 16 years old. By that time, I had a car. Like the average 16-year-old does not have their driver's license and do not have a car. I got my driver's license and I got a car, right? And then I got another car. The average person at 17 years old, they don't have two cars. The average person at 17 years old, they're not doing side hustles that's making them upwards of $1,000 in a week. All right, that was in every typical week at 17 years old, but I had some side hustles that, here and there were making $1,000 in a week. Okay, cool, boom, just like that. The average person at 18 years old is not a manager at a job, right? So boom, became manager at my first job, which is White Castle. The average person in my age range is not driving a nice car. Boom, I went and got a Camaro, right? The average person in my age range at 18, 19 years old does not have $10,000 saved. Boom, I went ahead save $10,000. The average person in my age range does not have a house. Boom, went and bought a house at 20 years old, right? So step by step, the average age range, the average person in my age range at 21 does not make six figures. Boom, made six figures at 21 years old, right? The average person at 22 years old doesn't have a supercar, $100,000 car. Boom, bought a supercar at 23 years old. 22 years old. Right, the average person my age range at 23 years old does not have a 7-figure business. Boom, had a 7-figure business at 23 years old. Right, so step by step, I just kept self-improving. Instead of me going from 0 to 100 real quick, I took a step by step. I planned out my 10-year map, right, my 10-year blueprint, and I continue to keep working on that. Right, you work your 9-to-5 job. If you like it, that's completely different. If you are miserable, please start learning some skill sets so you can actually separate yourself from the others, because I was absolutely miserable. So this is not for everybody. This is for people who are miserable like me. I will go in there, I want to cry, no joke, just because I remember one time I met the person who owned the company I was working for, which was WeatherTech, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, sir? Bro just walked right past me like I didn't even exist. Like, I'm like, I've been in this company for 2 years. Bro just walked right past me, didn't say nothing. Disrespectful. I'm like, yo, ain't no way. And I remember too, another thing too, during the C-19 situation, they told us like, hey, yo, we're sorry about everything that's going on. You guys can, we're not essential workers, so you guys can go back home. We're gonna take care of you guys, pay you guys for as long as needed. We don't know how long this pandemic is gonna last for, so we're gonna pay you guys. He literally wrote a whole letter that our GM literally said that to all our supervisors said that to all of us in the department. And I remember 2 days after that, we got a call. 2 days afterward, we got a call, and the call said, "Come back to work." And I'm like, okay, like I thought we just literally just being told that we shouldn't, be working at all, right? Like, so like, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, now you guys have to come back to work. I'm like, okay, if I don't come back, y'all still pay me? He said yes. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not coming back. Not right now. At least give me another week. I'm like, dang. Like, I was kind of hoping that I could stay off, for a few weeks or a few months without having to work and still getting paid. It was lovely, right? But it lasted 1 day. The next day, he calls me again. Yeah, if you don't come back to work today, we're not gonna get paid. You're not gonna get paid. So you're not actually getting paid from the other days neither. So you gotta come back to work. I'm like, yo, I'm living check to check. I gotta come back. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Went back to work. It was another situation where somebody brought a pew to work and unalived somebody right in front of us. And they told us to come back to work the very next day. It was a Friday morning. It was night shift going into Saturday, so 6 a.m. Saturday, because it was like from 10 to 6. And they forced us to come back to work the very next day. And that following Monday, everybody was working right on top of where that person had just gotten unalived. And they told us we had to come back to work, living check to check. Like, hey, you can take days off. but you're not gonna get paid, It was just like, come back to work. It is what it is. And that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, this is not what I want. I want to be an entrepreneur, not this type of business owner, or businessman, I should say. Right? A friend of mine recently told me that the difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman is that a businessman is willing to do whatever for the business. An entrepreneur does it for the freedom. I do it for all the things that comes with it, not necessarily the money, as much as I love the money, but I make money and try to strive to be the best version of myself and make most of my money, put myself in a better position, my family in a better position, and of course for freedom. And that's what money has given me, freedom, my time back. Right? It gave me time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. And that's been the number one thing I'm trying to push through this whole entire video. Strive for those things, at least time freedom. Time is our most valuable asset. It's our most precious commodity. Fight for your time. You can never get your time back working 12-hour shifts for a strange man you've never met or a strange woman. Work harder. Grind it out. Go on a 6 to 12 month time skip. Put all of the negativity to the side. Put all the disbeliefs to the side and tell yourself this year you're going to change everything. Everything to the side and work towards your goals and watch you achieve them. Catch y'all in the next one.